Hey guys! Alright, so I'm just here in the shop. We just finished this little Honda ATC 110. Did a little couple repairs to it and got it up and running, and we've listed it for sale. And the other week, I finished up this Honda XR250. This is actually a keeper bike, guys. I've had this for over 15 years, and I'm not going to get rid of it anytime soon. I put some flush mount signals on it. This bike's street legal, guys. I got insurance registration papers for it. So I put these flush mount signals on it, and I also added a wire to the brake light assembly, and I put a brake light inside of this. So instead of just a red running light, it now has a secondary brake light. So when you step on the brake, right down there, when you step on that pedal, there's a switch connected to it that flicks the brake light on. Now, this being a dirt bike, doesn't have a brake light switch on the handlebar, but anyway, you just use the rear brake and you get a brake light. I also put flush mount turn signals on the front and put a fancy bright LED. You can see the back of it there. It's actually got a fan inside of it, a fancy bright LED headlight. There's a little tiny 12-volt battery on this bike under the seat. It's a bunch of AAA NiCad rechargeables in a little pack. It's 20 years old and barely holds a charge anymore, so I'm going to replace that battery pack with something better this season, and then this thing will actually have some lights on it. It's got a new rear tire, new bearings in the wheels. I ordered a front tire. It's on its way from fort9.com. It's a Canadian online dirt bike motorcycle part supplier, and they had the Kenda tire I was looking for that I couldn't find anywhere else. But anyways, that's that. And now we've got a little bit of space on the bike table here. So what I'm going to do is clean this up. And then, guys, I made a video about this months and months, maybe a year ago. What I've got down under here is a pretty cool old mini bike frame. You can see it right there. It's very tall. It's a very big mini bike frame. And all the parts I think I'm going to need to make a mini bike. So I got a set of wheels off of a Super Mini Bike years ago. I got a motor there. That's off a Honda Cub scooter. I believe that's a 90cc. It's got the electric start, which is pretty cool. And it's an old Honda. I think it's from the 80s. I got a Harley Davidson oil tank right there, which is going to fit the frame nicely. And I think I'm going to make that my gas tank. And I have a big tub of parts. There's a few extra gas tanks. There's some seats, bits and bytes. That's actually the front end off the Super Mini Bike. So this front end came with those wheels, and there's a disc brake on the front of it, and there's a caliper, etc. there. So I'm going to probably try putting a mount on the mini bike fork and installing that caliper and brake on the mini bike so that we have the front disc brake, rear drum brake. The chain I'm going to have to figure out because the chain on the motor is on the left side, but the wheel, the Super Mini Bike wheel, has the chain sprocket on the right side. So if I either flip that wheel around, install it backwards, or put a jack shaft, I'm not sure. We're gonna figure that out. I don't know if that'll work backwards, if it's good for it, or if it'll affect the brakes at all, the drum brake inside. We're gonna figure this out. So I think what I'm just gonna do is get this frame out from underneath this pile onto that motorcycle stand behind us. And we're just going to try and get the wheels mounted to it so this thing can be rolled in and out of the shop. And then I can pick away at installing stuff on it. As long as it's got wheels and it rolls, we'll be on our way. So anyway, I'm going to be right back. I'm just going to take this motorcycle stand outside. I'm going to give it a good wash, get the last 5 projects worth of oil and dirt off of it. And then I'm going to pull out this frame and these wheels, and we're going to mock this thing up, and we're going to see if we can figure out how we're going to install those wheels onto that frame. Be right back. All right, you guys, so we got her out from under the bench and kind of stood it up, propped it up a bit. Got the front wheel kind of in there. I don't really like these dropouts. Whoever carved these out, they're not even. The one on this side is higher, it's deeper, so when you put the wheel in, the wheel actually does this. It slants to one side. You kind kind of see the slant there. There's spacing to space it out, but when you press down on the forks, the wheel tilts off to the side. So what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to make a pair of plates, square plates, that I'm going to actually weld over top on the outside of this groove, and I'm going to drill a new hole through it, a hole that's even on both sides, so that when we push this axle through, it's centered up in the bike. So anyway, that'll take care of installing the front wheel. We got some spacers and stuff for in there, and that looks like it's going to work out good. Now the back wheel, guys, whoever was building this obviously designed it for like a pillow block bearing type thing, and I figured that's about the height right there. If we take the rear wheel and slip it in there like so, you kind of get an idea of where it's going to sit. So if I put a pillow block bearing on there, obviously that wheel is going to be mounted a little bit higher because this axle bolt right there is going to be about there. So it's going to lower the back of the thing just a little bit. It'll have a little bit of rake to it. If we don't like that, we can obviously modify this, but it's a lot of work. I don't really think we want to go and try and reinvent this whole setup so that we can lower that wheel a little bit more. It's just, like I said, it's going to have a little bit of rake. It's going to be a little lower in the back. And I guess this pair of wheels being off a little mini bike, I don't know, it's going to be kind of tilted like that. We'll find out. I don't really, like I said, want to reinvent this. We could mount them underneath or on top. We'll figure it out. I'm going to run to the parts store right now and pick up some bearing blocks. I'm going to pick up a couple hardened steel axles. I'm going to get a steel axle, some collars to clamp the axle in, and we're going to see what else we got over there at the part shop that I can think of. Maybe they'll have a throttle, a throttle, twist throttle. I might end up using one off a bicycle, guys, because my motor, my little Honda motor here, it's missing the barrel, the slide barrel, and the cap, so I'm gonna have to order that part off eBay. This is a little Honda 90. That's what I said in the first start of this video. I'm also gonna have to figure out how to adapt whatever size that chain output sprocket is to the size of chain that I've got here on the mini bike. Hopefully it's the same size. I doubt it. So we're gonna have to figure out the sprocket system later on. You're gonna say to me, Guy, you got the wheel on backwards. Yes, I do. It's flipped around, and the reason for that is because the output for the chain on the motor is on the left side. It's right there. Where are we? Right there on the left side. So this is on the left side. If I were to install this wheel the other way around, the way it's supposed to be, then the chain's going to be on the wrong side of the bike, and we're going to have to put a jack shaft in between, and I don't want to bother with that. I think this will work just fine backwards, and there's a drum brake as well, which is going to have to sit something like that. We'll have to come up with something. This is the pull right here, guys, so when you pull on this, the brake applies, and if you look inside, there's not really any indication that this is designed to work better in one direction than the other. So I have a feeling that running this backwards, just the only difference is going to be the rims pointing backwards. It's going to save us a lot of trouble instead of trying to, like I said, build a jack shaft setup to get that chain sprocket drive on this side. I got a few other bits and pieces I'll pull out, and then we're going to try and at least get the wheels bolted onto this in this video, and then I can move this thing around and hopefully get excited about working on it some more when I got some more time. So I'm going to hit the part shop. We'll turn the camera back on maybe while I'm there, or with what I pick up, and we'll see if we can get anywhere with this today. Okay, so we had a little trouble. I went to the part shop and I looked for some bearings that would fit this here axle, guys, and it turns out that this is not a 1/2-inch axle as I had assumed. It's actually a 12 millimeter axle, which is just slightly smaller than a 1/2-inch. So none of the pillow block bearing sets they had would hold this snug. They were all kind of sloppy. So what I did, I went on Amazon and I found some 12 millimeter pillow block bearing blocks and ordered them. So they're going to be here in about a week. So I figured for video effect I would just mock this up a little bit. So there's your motor in there. That's off the Honda Cub. I believe that's a 90. I found the sprocket for it. It's a 420 pitch chain, or sorry, 428. 428 pitch chain, and I laid these teeth across these teeth, and I think this is a 428 as well. So I'm going to order myself a 428 chain from Amazon as well, and if it's not, at least it'll fit the engine side. We can always change this sprocket back here to something else, but I think these are the same pitch, so we might not have to mess with that. This tire went flat really quickly. I've noticed it's got a bunch of cracks in it down the center there. I did find these online on a scooter site for about 50 bucks, so I'm going to order a new rear tire and tube, and yeah, then I guess the next step's going to be building a little adjustable engine mount so we can slide this engine back and forth a little bit, about a 1/2 inch, to adjust the chain tension. No suspension involved in this, so be a nice straightforward lineup. And then we're gonna get working on this little motor, guys. This is a electric start Honda. Like I said, I think it's a 90. I'm not 100% sure. I looked around on the head for some numbers or something, but I can't find anything. It's semi-automatic, so there's a suicide hand shifter on it right here, which we're gonna leave because that's super cool. And then next video, I guess I'm gonna have some pillow block bearings and some hardware and a welder and a few pieces made up for this front end here, and we'll get to actually putting this baby together so it makes some noise. All right, hit the subscribe button for the next chapter of this little project video series, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.